Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here, as always, to cut through the noise and give you the insights you need. Today, we're diving into something that, well, affects pretty much anyone who owns a vehicle or even operates machinery. It's that constant search, right, for keeping things running smoothly, efficiently, maybe getting a bit more life out of them, that magic bullet. And that leads us straight to today's focus, Prolube Oil Treatment. The big question, the one we hear a lot, is pretty simple. Does this stuff really work? So our mission today, we've got a recent review here, is to unpack what Prolube claims and, more importantly, see what users are actually saying.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it, how often we see products making really bold promises, especially when it comes to something as, well, expensive and vital as engine care. There's always that bit of skepticism, and honestly, that's healthy. So our job here, like you said, is to look past the marketing hype. We need to really examine the practical, the real-world side of things, especially for, an audience like yours that gets the basics of how engines work. We'll look at a few key signs, sort of indicators, to figure out if it's legit and if it actually does what it says on the tin. Help you make sense of it all.
Okay, right. So let's start with the basics. Prolube's core promise. What are they actually claiming? Our sources say it's marketed as a high-performance formula, designed specifically to cut down on engine wear, friction, and also heat. Those are the big ones. And the ultimate goal, helping your engine run smoother and just last longer. That's the dream, right? But what really stood out to me was how broad they say its use is. Cars, trucks, even big industrial machines.
That is interesting. And it raises a key question straight away, doesn't it? For someone who, understands a bit about engine mechanics, that wide range of applications, well, it's either revolutionary or it sets off a few alarm bells.
Yeah.
How can just one single additive claim to tackle wear, friction, and heat across such different types of machines? You got your modern car engine, super precise tolerances.
Yeah, totally different from like a big industrial generator or something.
Yeah, exactly. Usually, lubricants are tailored, right, for specific conditions, specific engine designs. So for Prolube to claim this universal benefit, it suggests they think they're tapping into some really fundamental principles of how all these engines work or how they wear out. I mean, just think about the different ways engines need lubrication. At low speeds, high loads, you're worried about boundary lubrication, actual metal-on-metal contact, that's bad. Speed things up, you get into mixed lubrication, and ideally you hit hydrodynamic lubrication where there's a nice fluid film keeping things apart. Now, cutting friction usually needs special friction modifiers. Reducing wear needs anti-wear agents, things that react chemically under heat and pressure.
Okay.
And managing heat is all about less friction, yes, but also how well the oil cools and its thermal stability. So for one product to claim it nails all three: friction, wear, heat across everything from a tiny car engine to a massive industrial one, well, that implies some pretty clever chemistry supposedly involved.
Right. So the claims are big. We need to see the evidence. Absolutely. So let's get into that. Sign number one. And this is pretty hard to argue with, actually. It speaks volumes about market acceptance. We're talking about Prolube's ranking, where it sits in the marketplace. Our source material points this out very clearly. Prolube is the #1 bestseller. Not just a bestseller, the HE #1. In engine and oil fluid additives on Amazon, that's a huge category.
Yeah, and let's connect that to the bigger picture for a second. That #1 spot, it's way more than just counting sales. Especially on a platform like Amazon, getting to #1 and staying there.
Yeah.
In a category like engine additives, which is crowded and pretty technical, that's a massive achievement.
Huge signal.
It really is. It definitely needs huge sales volume, sure. But more than that, it strongly suggests people are having good experiences consistently over time. This isn't some, viral fad product that disappears after a month. It shows sustained market approval. And think about who's buying this stuff. They're often pretty knowledgeable, right? They care about their engines.
Yeah, they're not just guessing.
Exactly. So for thousands of people to buy it, maybe buy it again, and rate it highly enough to push it to the top, well, that indicates a really significant level of trust and satisfaction.
Right.
It cuts through that natural skepticism we talked about. It's powerful proof, really, from the people actually using it.
Okay, exactly. Sales are one thing, a big thing, but like you said, it's the user experience that really matters for reputation. So let's pivot to functionality. Does it actually do what it promises when people use it? And the reports we looked at are, well, they're remarkably consistent on this. People are saying pretty clearly that it really improves engine performance.
And what's fascinating here is seeing how those user reports directly mirror
Hmm.
Prolube's core claims. When people talk about things like less engine noise or the engine idling smoother or better
Yeah,
acceleration,
you can feel that stuff.
right, you feel it.
Yeah.
And those are the direct results of, well, likely reduced friction and wear inside the engine. Less friction means less wasted energy, smoother power, maybe even slightly better fuel efficiency, though that's harder to measure definitively for most users. And less wear, especially on critical parts like, say, the valve train or piston rings, that directly translates to a quieter, more efficient engine.
Makes sense.
And the fact that users mention these benefits across different types of engines, that loops back to what we were saying earlier. It seems to suggest Prolube might actually be tackling those really basic universal lubrication issues. So yeah, it's not just marketing speak repeating itself. It's real-world feedback stuff you can hear and feel.
And we even saw anecdotes, right? People saying they add it with every single oil change because they like it so much.
That's not just trying something out.
Yeah.
That's real loyalty built on seeing consistent results.
Okay, so digging a bit deeper into those results. There's one specific thing that really jumps out from the reviews. And it seems like a huge deal, especially for people with older cars, higher mileage maybe. Our source highlights this really strongly. Engine noise reduction, a dramatic reduction. We're seeing mentions of up to 90% less chatter. I mean, 90%. That sounds almost too good to be true, but report after report mentions it. People describing their older cars suddenly sounding way smoother, much quieter, and some even feel like they accelerate better afterwards. And crucially, this is important, reviewers consistently say there's no overheating or weird side effects.
And that raises a really practical question for you, the listener.
Yeah.
Maybe you know those little ticks and rattles from an engine that's seen a few miles.
Yeah.
What does a claim like 90% less chatter actually mean for your drive? And maybe for the engine's long-term health? For lots of people, that increasing engine noise, tappet clatter, general harshness, it's not just annoying.
Right, it makes you worry something's wrong.
Exactly. It's often a direct sign of increased wear. Maybe the oil film isn't as protective as it used to be, or issues in the valve train. So if Prolube can genuinely quieten things down that much, it really suggests it's not just like muffling the sound. It points towards actually improving the lubrication film, reducing that metal-on-metal contact at a very fine level.
Improving the actual mechanics?
Potentially, yes, which means less mechanical stress. And ultimately, an engine that just feels and sounds healthier. Imagine, that noise your older car makes when you start it up.
Yeah.
Imagine that mostly gone. That would change how you feel about the car's reliability, wouldn't it?
Totally. Big difference.
And that point about no side effects, no overheating, no other weirdness, that's absolutely vital. Some additives, they promise the world, but, might mess with the oil's existing chemistry or cause other problems down the line. So the consistent reports of no negative issues, that definitely adds weight to the argument for Prolube being safe and effective.
Yeah, that safety and reliability piece is key. Can't solve one problem by creating another one. So, okay, let's zoom out again. We've looked at sales, specific performance like noise. What's the overall vibe? The general feeling about Prolube. This takes us to the overall perception of quality and also value for money. And again, the language people use is strong, repeatedly calling it great, excellent, even the best.
Yeah.
That kind of consistent, positive language, it suggests more than just, yeah, it worked okay. It shows real trust in the product's quality overall.
And we connect that to the bigger picture again. That level of sustained positive feedback about quality, that's gold in any market. It really suggests a product that isn't just meeting expectations, but often it seems exceeding them. Then you look at the value for money question, which, let's face it, is always important.
Always. Especially now.
Right. And the vast majority of buyers seem to feel it's totally worth it.
Now, to be balanced, our source does note a few think it's a little pricey compared to other brands. And that's fair. There are cheaper options out there.
Sure, there always are. But the overwhelming consensus, the main takeaway, is that the performance makes it worth every dollar. So what does that tell you as someone thinking about buying it? It suggests that the combination of getting those real noticeable results, less noise, smoother running, maybe just peace of mind, plus the idea that it might be helping the engine last longer, that creates this feeling of value that, for most people, overcomes the actual price tag. And that's really the secret sauce for customer loyalty, isn't it? Turning that first-time buyer into someone who uses it regularly.
Okay, so let's wrap this up then. Let's bring all these threads together. We started with Prolube's big claims: cutting wear, friction, heat, leading to smoother, longer-lasting engines, and for all kinds of engines too. Then we looked at the evidence. First, that massive #1 bestseller rank on Amazon. Huge validation from the market, shows sustained trust. Then we dug into what users actually experience. Those functional improvements, smoother rides, much less noise, better performance overall. Seems consistent across different engines. That up to 90% less chatter claim, especially for older cars, really stood out, backed by lots of reviews, and crucially, no reports of bad side effects. And finally, the overall feeling. People calling it great, excellent, feeling it offers good value despite the price. So, based on all this, yeah, the evidence really does point towards Prolube being a legitimate, trusted product. It seems to deliver for a lot of people.
It is fascinating, isn't it? Because you start with that understandable skepticism. Any product making such broad, powerful claims about engine performance should raise questions. But then, you look at the collective user experience, like we've just discussed, based on our source, and it consistently backs up what Prolube asserts. That consistency is pretty remarkable, really. It suggests tangible benefits for a whole range of users. And maybe this leads to a final thought, a question for you, our listener, to mull over. Given that one additive apparently manages to significantly reduce friction, wear, and heat across everything from your car to heavy industrial gear, what does that actually tell us about the fundamental challenges, the common weak points maybe, that all internal combustion engines face, no matter their size or job?
Interesting angle.
And maybe thinking about that, understanding those universal principles of lubrication and protection, how could that help you make better choices for your own vehicle's maintenance? Perhaps it makes you question if standard oils alone are always enough, you know. It just encourages us to keep looking, keep observing, maybe critically evaluating what's really going on under the hood, keep asking questions.